Welcome to our new open forum program. Please go ahead with your call.
Hi, Chris. Could you read Ezekiel 4, verse 4 and 5, please?
Yes, Ezekiel 4, verse 4 and 5. Ezekiel 4:4. Lie thou also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 390 days, so shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel.
Okay. Could you read 6 as well, please?
Yes. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I've appointed thee each day for a year.
Thank you. Could you go over the spiritual meaning of the two verses 5 and 6, please?
Yeah. Well, first thing we notice is that adding the two numbers together, 390 plus 40 equals 430. And 430 is a very special number because we immediately think of Israel's stay in Egypt 430 years to the self same day. And then after 430 years, they were delivered. There was the great deliverance. All Israel, not a single Jew, not one, was left behind in Egypt. And Israel, delivered from Egypt, we know paints a spiritual picture. Egypt points to the kingdom of this world, the kingdom of Satan, Pharaoh, a type of Satan. Those in bondage the Israelites in bondage would point to God's elect, born children of wrath, even as others, in our sins until God saves us. And then comes great deliverance, God's salvation program. And finally, all to be saved, all spiritual Israel were saved. Everyone whose name was written within the Lamb's Book of Life finally receives their salvation. We can identify that with 1994, Jubilee year, and the Jubilee year, the captives were to be set free. So we see that relationship, 430, when we add the two together. That's important. That's important to understand. Well, and then it says each day for a year. Each day for a year, right? In both places, 390 days, and then the 40 days they appointed thee each day for a year. So there is 430 years. 430 years, a definite emphasis on the end of the stay in Egypt, the world, and then deliverance. And that's what we who are of spiritual Israel, all who have truly been saved, are looking forward to, aren't we? Final deliverance from this world. And that comes on the last day when our salvation is complete, as God changes our bodies and we receive new resurrected spiritual bodies. All the elect, whether in the physical grave or alive upon the earth on that last day, all are transformed, all are changed, and that will really complete the Jubilee. It will complete our deliverance. And so we suspect that this timeline that God is saying, and as he's instructing Ezekiel to lie on his left side 390 days, 390 years. First of all, we realize it cannot be anything, it cannot just only be 390 years. And 390 years doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. And God also tells Ezekiel that this has to do with Israel. This shall be a sign to the house of Israel. It says in verse 3. Verse 4, lie thou also upon thy left side and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it, and then the house of Judah. The iniquity of the house of Israel, and then the iniquity of the house of Judah. So Israel is in view. So we know it can't be an actual 430 years from Ezekiel. Ezekiel, he lived around 600 BC. He was alive at the time when Jerusalem was destroyed in 587. 390 years doesn't take you anywhere, or 430 years doesn't take you anywhere. We don't even come to the point of the birth of Christ. We're in that area when God was not speaking, that about 400 years from the completion of Esther until John the Baptist, until the Lord came to Zacharias and told him, and so that doesn't fit. That doesn't fit. Then we think, okay, it's Israel. It must be, the starting point must have to do with Israel. And there's a few possibilities: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, something to do in their lives. Well, then we realize that it was, was it 1907? 1907, yeah, I think that's correct. 1907 BC, that God changed Jacob's name to Israel. You're no more Jacob, I'm going to call you Israel. And that was really the beginning of Israel, even though Jacob had his children, the children of Israel, but they wouldn't even be called the children of Israel until his name was changed in 1907 BC. So if we go not 390 years, but let's take it another multiple of 10, 3,900 years. And we travel from 1907 BC until the year 1994. And in order to get the total length of time, add 1994 or add 1907 BC plus 1994 AD equals 3,900. 3,900. And 1994 is a very significant year. It's a jubilee. And also it's the year for the official judgment of the corporate church. And Israel typifies the corporate church. So starting point of the beginning of national Israel with Jacob's name change. And then when we go all the way to 1994, the 3,900 years, it really encompasses the two outward representatives of God's kingdom on the earth, the whole history of national Israel and the whole history of the church age until its official end in 1994. So that's a pretty significant finding, that 390 years from 1907 takes you nowhere. But if you add a zero, and in the Bible, 100 has the same meaning as 1,000, and 1,000 is 10,000 spiritually. Same thing here. 390 would have the same meaning as 3,900 it would be, if you were to break down the number, same integers, it would be it would just add a multiple of 10. And so we suspect we found the answer to that. Now, Mr. Camping wrote about this in a couple of his books at least, and he would agree with everything I just said. It was actually him laying that out, and I learned that from him. But then in Mr. Camping's book, I think it was in 1994, the book 1994, he then, because the significance of 1907 and 1994, when he was looking at 1994 as the end of the world, you can see why that popped out. But then the 40 years, what he did, and this was incorrect, but it's understandable why he did it, because he didn't think there was any time after 1994. So he took the 40 and he went backward from 1907 to 2007 BC, when Jacob was born. Now, I forget the exact reasoning for doing that, but that's what he did. And then he said the 40, again, multiples of 10 doesn't change it. So 404,000. 4,000. It is 4,000 years from 2007 to 1994. And he said, now this must be the answer. But there's problems with that. Number one, here in Ezekiel, we can see that the two numbers are meant to be added together. You don't give 390 and 40 and not intend for those to form 430. And so they're continuous anyway. Historically, Ezekiel laid on his left side 390 days. He literally did that. He did what God commanded. Then, immediately after completing 390 days, he laid on his right side 40 days, which means there's a continuity there, that by the time it's all said and done, Ezekiel was lying down on his left and on his right for a period of 430 days. So the 430 was lived out. It was lived out in total. And so this idea, well, you go 3,900 years, then go back, it breaks that continuity. It loses the addition of 390 and 40. You no longer have 430 in view. And again, understandable at the time, because Mr. Camping, it was in the book 1994, he was looking to that year as the end. But we have a superior vantage point. We have a wonderful vantage point as far as this is concerned. And it's another amazing truth that the Bible reveals. We keep the first part, 3,900 years, 1907 to 1994. Then you continue. Now turn over. How far do you go? 40 years. 2033. 2033. And what results is I guess it would be 3,940 or 3,939, something like that. I'm not sure of I need a calculator I'm not sure how that, there might be calendar years or something, that actual years, calendar years, but this distance, 39 plus 40 3940 is the equivalent to a full 430 years. And that means God is basically saying, once you get to the year 2033, you have come to the 430th year. And again, that's why I mentioned earlier, what happens? Deliverance. Deliverance, you're free. You're set free. The captives are set free. It is really the fullness of the Jubilee as well from the Jubilee year of 1994. It continues. It's an extended Jubilee period that really will extend into eternity future. And so this is another strong time path that points to 2033.